Hey, what's going on, y'all? I figured I'd drop in a little video instead of writing a long Facebook post that probably only my parents will see. I've been in IT for 26 years. I've been part of big companies, Southwest Airlines, Equinix, large hospitals, government buildings such as City of Fort Worth, and lots of other small projects around the U.S. So I've kind of built data centers from the ground up. I've managed hundreds of teams doing all sorts of infrastructure projects across the world. Was part of a project with Equinix doing a fiber submarine cable from Guam to Sydney, Australia. So I've been in all sorts of facets of the IT world. I received a text from a friend about Putin upset over the bird flu from Mr. Bill Gates. I looked into it a little bit. It makes sense around election time. I mean, you have to at least consider it. That COVID broke Trump last time. Trump's running again. Could be potentially the favorite, or at least it looks that way. Who knows, right? So to unleash another virus only makes sense if we have been through it before. Putin kind of sees this. Of course, he's the leader of a country, so I'm sure he has people and places, so you have to at least consider it. The enemy of Bill Gates would have to come from another country, right? Our own country might not be able to get into the nooks and cracks of what Bill Gates has going on. Who knows, Bill Gates is even doing this bird flu thing or whatever. Okay, it's way over all of our heads. But you have to at least consider it. So when you think of IT and hacking, you have to consider Russia, right? Russia is probably one of the world's greatest hacking environments there is on the planet. They're responsible for all sorts of different ransom attacks. I managed a company that managed a project for a company that got ransomware, demanded a few million, and the company didn't want to pay the few million to restore their data and their access, and so that company had to send in every laptop and wipe every single computer out, re-image all of them, lose all of the files on every single computer, and basically restart their whole company all over again from an IT standpoint. So it is a real thing. It does happen. So to go on to what's currently happening with Microsoft, right? So if Putin raises the flag, so on June 29th, you can look it up. It's articles all over Google. Putin has a concern about the flu, the bird flu. Now, to utilize some of the best hackers in the world against an enemy of the bird flu would be Bill Gates, right? Bill Gates created Microsoft, or owns Microsoft, the man from Microsoft, right? Microsoft is an insanely large company. So because Microsoft is such a large company, it really is up there in tiers where they would deal directly with other countries. It almost doesn't make sense to use our government mandated. I mean, there is mandating of software and litigations and such, but they're so big, they're up at the tables with all those guys anyways. They have so much money, they can pretty much say and do and buy people off as much as they want anyways. So we would have to have an outside entity like a Russia to be able to come in to mix things up. And so with this Microsoft blue screen of death happening, it's similar to what we experienced with AT&T, right? AT&T And that's a different story. Maybe I'll make another post off that one. But to summarize what AT&T happened, right? So, like I said, I've been in IT a long time. There's a thing called change control. When you make a change to a database, an infrastructure, a switch, server, you put in a change request. It goes to a board full of VPs and all of the different IT departments that all hear this potential change and talk through it to see whether, it's been vetted, what's going on, what's the downtime, what are we doing, what other approvals, do you have your management approval, do you have like the customer approval? There's lots of things that go into these change management meetings. And there's usually, a couple hundred, some of the big companies at SWA, we had like over, 100 and something every, like twice a week. It was just constant changes on the network. There was 20 VPs at Southwest Airlines, right? So all of that is vetted. So for someone like AT&T to have issues with their backend database and lose services is something that would never make it through change control without every VP knowing what was going on, what change was being implemented that broke your system. That's about as high as up as you can get. So that's not going to just happen off the fly, right? So something happened with AT&T, something is happening with Microsoft. Same kind of scenario. And so you have Microsoft, who has a company called CrowdStrike, who manages all their cybersecurity. Now, if you're getting blue screen of death, right, that's not necessarily a cyber security issue. That's the operating system that's getting whatever refresh, whatever upload, whatever revision that it got that broke how it normally works, right? So if a computer boots up, say you have an HP, you turn it on, the first screen you see is HP. Hit a couple buttons, go into the to the back end side of it, go to the BIOS. But it eventually gets around to loading Windows, and if you can't run Windows, then now you're kind of at the mercy of getting the next revision, the next upload, the next download to be able to access your Windows. And so that's where it's broke. In between where the computer hardware boots up, you see all the techie stuff loading up, then loads into Microsoft. And so if they can get into the back end of Microsoft, then they could potentially get into database and BIOS and whatnot, right? There is some back end hacking or whatever you want to consider it being done. And so like the AT&T scenario, the AT&T didn't really come out and claim that, hey, we got all of our information hacked and stolen. I don't know if they would, but AT&T goes through a provisioning system, right? So when you call AT&T, you say, hey, I want a new phone line. You get the phone, you get a SIM card. That SIM card has to be registered. It goes in through a provisioning team, which then provisions you a phone line, and then it goes over to accounts. And the accounts manage your system based off of how it was set up with provisioning on the new phone. And MAC addresses and all the ties that tie the account together. And so the reason I bring this up is because this is similar to what's going on now. Microsoft is getting blue screen of death, means you cannot load your Windows, which therefore you're going to be calling Microsoft. Microsoft is going to be insanely busy for the next few weeks, right? And so what does busy equal? Money, right? This is going to cost Microsoft millions and billions of dollars to work all of these kinks out, because you're going to be having all of your IT staff, all of these major companies working on trying to get the patches for every single PC and server that has Windows on it. And so people wanted to include CrowdStrike into the mix, but really CrowdStrike is a cybersecurity software that protects, it's an antivirus for Microsoft. And so the issue is not really with CrowdStrike, because with CrowdStrike has already been, it's not a thing. If you're getting a blue screen of death, that's a Microsoft thing. It's already penetrated. It's already beat CrowdStrike. So with CrowdStrike not being a part of the game anymore, it's directly with Microsoft. And so by everybody calling in, whoever's going to get blue screen of death, every single company, IT, is going to reach out to Microsoft to get the new patch, to figure out what's going on, what we need to do to prepare ourselves for anything else that could have came with this, right? You have to protect your network. And so the amount of busy work in the IT world is very, very expensive. So we had Boca Raton in Florida that went down. I worked for Tyler Technologies for a little while. That cost quite a few $1 million for only a few hours of downtime, because what Tyler Technologies does is provide all of the judicial data and systems through software for all of the judicial court systems. So there's like lawyer edition, judge edition, clerk edition softwares. When you go to court, they bring that that system up, and Tyler Technologies manages all that. So when you have a system like that go down, you are getting, there's contracts, and there's billing, and uptime is a serious thing. In IT, you want 4 nines for uptime. Anything under that, you're kind of slacking. Even if it's 992, you went through a couple outages along the way of the last year. But that ultimately comes down to money. And so why I bring up money and downtime is because if Putin raised the flag saying, hey, no to the bird flu around the elections, if Bill Gates says, do what you got to do, same as like the ransom, Putin, someone from Russia, could have said, hey, give us some details on the bird flu. They could have said no. And here comes the wave from Microsoft. Right? So not only does all of Microsoft pretty much come to a standstill until this is resolved, but you also have millions and billions of millions of people, potentially billions of people affected by this. I mean, who doesn't have Microsoft on their PCs and either work or home or something? And so you have all these people affected, which is costing everybody money, all billable technically to Microsoft. Downtime. And so with that being said, you can't really focus on the bird flu and the money that goes into it and the vaccines or whatever you're trying to do if you now have billions of dollars of debt that you're dealing with for people's downtime in IT. And so, is it a thing? Technically, right now, it's a theory. So, I welcome all discussions, debates. Call me out on my stuff. I don't care. I go with the flow. So, just thought I'd throw that in your ear and kind of update you from an IT perspective of what's going on. Any recommendations that I have? If you got blue screen of death, there's quite a few things online right now. There's a few patches you can look into. Careful with patches, of course, where they come from. You want it from genuine Microsoft. Reach out to your IT personnel. They're probably already working on your infrastructure. They probably already have patches in line. So this is probably going to be a fairly simple one, similar to the AT&T. Hacking into databases is different than bringing down Microsoft from a software perspective. However, I would still stay offline for a little bit until you know that it's just Microsoft and there's not a internal seed in there that's able to do anything else. Probably not, but work local today, and all your files will be fine. I don't like keeping bank information stored in browsers. If you're able to type in your information manually for stuff like banking is probably a good idea. But that's another topic as well. So I'll end this and figured I'd just do a little IT guy, your neighborhood IT guy segue. All right, have a good one, y'all.